Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, London VK Alucard. And we're doing a reaction to Casual Comics. Sasha's doing a read-along. For this title is The Black Canary Band Experiment. Let's get it, see what she got to say.
Black Canary was in a band, and while you may know that, did you know that DC also had some officially sanctioned music to go with that band? 2 Black Canary EPs are out there in the world, and they tie into her DCU run. And a song from that EP has managed to make its way back into canon as of 2022, or at least it was referenced. So Black Canary's band.
Black Canary had a music video? I definitely gotta check that out. I'm gonna make sure I put that in the description. Hopefully she plays it.
Even though for many,
play some of it. Oh, it probably can't be.
The run that highlighted it has kind of faded into obscurity, as is the very brief existence of the DCU. An interesting blip that existed at the end of the New 52 and prior to Rebirth. Side note, while I was going back and looking at the DCU, I found this great headline that is aged like milk. I love it. It's this one. The DCU initiative not going anywhere as of August 31st, 2015. I love how strongly they stood behind this for a bit, only to then just completely backtrack. Here's a quote from Dan Didio. You have got quotes this early. If you're trying to build a fan base, a new audience, you've got to nurture it. You've got to take your time. You got to take your losses. Sooner or later, it's going to take hold and hopefully be a leader in the business. Right now, our goal is to try and feed out as much product that's as different as possible to try and attract the widest audience possible. Didio also stated, one of the things about comics is that it's really low cost. You can put them out there and see whether they succeed or fail, and then the goal is to follow the trends that are successful and build out from there. And the article ends with, so DCU fans can relax that the initiative does not appear to be going anywhere for now. Next year was DC Rebirth. The DCU era was a time when DC was playing a bit looser with canon, which is an era we're in again, time of recording. But that was only for some books, not all. It did lead to some interesting outings and creative decisions, few that landed or that are overly remembered. This is the era that gave us Tim Drake Batman Beyond. It's also the era of the Fish Out of Water Starfire series that we did a retrospective on. I'm Sasha, this is Casually Comics, and let's see how DC came to commission a musical tie-in for their Black Canary series. Now, Black Canary being in a band and adding a singing aspect to her character was not an idea that came from the DCU, but it came from the latter part of her time in the New 52. Specifically her time in Burnside, where she was a member of a band called Ashes on Sunday. This was from the Batgirl run where they were trying to take Babs in a more relatable direction, and the book was trying to be more topical for the time the book was coming out in this direction, the era that marked its beginning with the selfie cover. Now following the New 52, there was a bit of a flux as DC figured out where they were going. So you had Convergence and you also had DCU. Both very brief. Convergence was an event, and it showcased multiple different canons and timelines, and for some was a way to just catch up on things and just kind of tie up some loose ends and move things around in canon as they needed. That event had 42 issue tie-ins, so that's 20 with 2 issues each, despite having 8 main issues. But finally came the DCU, which was supposed to be the post-New 52 era. While 25 titles would remain as ongoing and just work in some shifts but try and keep on going with the plots they had been and just try some different things but not restart or anything like that, just work this new ethos into their existing mythos, DC would launch 24 new titles, with an emphasis on taking a new spin on things and modernizing characters or introducing new ones. This era did not prove successful and was mostly left by the wayside for Rebirth, which occurred in 2016. In Rebirth, some characters would see themselves return to something closer to their pre-Flashpoint origins, but elements of the New 52 and in some cases of the DCU would remain, but most of the DCU elements would find themselves just scrapped or not referenced again. As for Black Canary's DCU series, it began in June of 2015 and ran for 12 issues. It was written by Brendan Fletcher and had art for the most part by Annie Wu, who did do all the covers. But there was also an issue here or there by Pia Guerra or Sandy Jarrell, or both in some cases, like issue 5. Moritat did issue 10, which was also randomly written by Matthew Rosenberg. And then there were some other variations at times of the artists. The book was largely about Canary's life in the band and touring, that kind of lifestyle. And then it had superhero elements thrown on top, but also not necessarily strictly superhero. They're demons, the like. On the little preview page describing what their book was going to be, they stated, it's a kung fu rock and roll road trip. Circumstances have allowed or pushed Dinah in a certain direction. She's ex-military, but for some reason, this is what makes sense for her right now. She's on the road with this band and trouble is following her. All she wants to do is fulfill this contract and have a good time with these people she's getting to know. But there is trouble. She did have things like one of their bandmates, Ditto, being attacked, or Dinah's ex-husband being after them. There was indeed much kung fu. That's the cliff notes. The book was very much a co-project between Fletcher and Wu, and the whole music aspect was very much at the forefront. I have quotes, so many quotes. On creating the book, Fletcher stated, we didn't want to make the book another Birds of Prey, so we had to give her a different role. She couldn't just be another superhero in that book. So what we did was we put her in a rock rock band, and it gave her something else to do. And when it came time for me to pitch for a new series, this was kind of an obvious choice. Let's follow Dinah and this band in a series. When I started to develop the actual story for her own tour, I knew the feel that I wanted to arrive at. So I started putting elements together that would allow me to have this vibe that would have an equal amount of focus on the touring life of a rock musician with crazy martial arts, super spies, a bunch of secret agents, military people, and possibly aliens. I know, that sounds like a wild mix of stuff. To which the interviewer replied, "No way, makes total sense." When it came to the vibe, Fletcher cited the anime Fooly Cooly, yes, I know it's not spelled that way, but that's the English pronunciation, as a strong source. On designing her look for the series, Wu stated, "I'm a pop culture junkie, so I mentally stow away all these references in my head like a squirrel with acorns. So even right off the bat, I decided to give Dinah a sort of cape thing that she whips off at the beginning of the show to reveal her Black Canary outfit. Something like that isn't even just from one place. There's a little Rocky Horror, a little Hedwig and the Angry Inch, a little Ziggy Stardust." One of the things that Wu talks about is being excited seeing all kinds of people wearing fishnets cosplaying as Black Canary with rips in them. That's not a new thing. So this is a bit of a different direction for Black Canary in terms of how she's been portrayed at DC Comics. So when asked about their affinity for DC Comics, Wu stated, "I think it's great because sometimes some people assume that we're changing the entire line or something. But no, like KNOW, we're just creating what's better for a wider audience. So old school fans will have what they like, and maybe people who don't usually read comics will be able to find a way in. We're just creating what's better for a wider audience." That is, let's say, a bold claim. Is being in a band and an intense musical focus inspired by things like the Rocky Horror Picture Show and Hedwig and the Angry Inch more accessible and wider and mainstream than superhero comics, or just the superhero genre, especially in 2015? Your mileage will vary. I would argue that they're both very niche in different ways. And at the time, thanks to the rise of the MCU and the like, superheroes in general probably had a broader mass appeal than specific music and touring. But again, maybe you agree with the statement. Maybe you feel that this was a way to get Black Canary out there for a wider appeal. Let me know what you think. So okay, this series has an intense musical inspiration. Each issue is named after a song. Fletcher used to tour with bands before writing comics. That's where the excitement and focus lay for this series. If you read multiple interviews, that's most of what they talk about, the music. What about the EP? The first EP, entitled simply EP, was released to tie in not just with the comic, but with the release of the first trade. It was 3 tracks long, including the song Fish Out of Water, which is the song that Red Canary, a character who debuted in Dark Crisis, describes as transformative and creates her connection with Black Canary, which eventually leads to her modeling her superhero costume and persona after her, plus some elements of her personal life, like learning to play the guitar. Time of recording, origins change. If you do listen to Fish Out of Water, it does sound like the kind of song that a university student could get obsessed with. It does. Listen to it. I know better than.
Alright, let me know how y'all enjoying this video with Casual Comics and Black Canary being in a band. Let's get back to it.
Still, time of recording, access and listen to these EPs or buy them. They're on bandcamp.com. I'll link them down below. Again, not gonna play them. You're not going to catch me out like that, YouTube. Now, there are a couple of descriptions as to how the music sounds across various sources. Punk rock, electro synth, sultry with attitude, a bold blend with hints of oat. Sorry, that's wine. But in my vid on Black Canary, someone in the comments mentioned that they sound like metric, and that's pretty accurate. The first EP was released March 1st of 2016, which was a few days before the first trade paperback, which was March 8th. The second was released on August 31st, 2017. The second one did not coincide with the release of the second graphic novel, and in fact was quite a bit after it, as that came out in November of 2016. But according to vague sources like Gizmodo, it was successful. I don't have access to the back end of Bandcamp. I have no idea how much it sold or didn't, or was downloaded or not downloaded, or even the clicks it got. I'll have to take their word for it, and the fact that they did produce a second EP, though that may be because they already had it in production. There are lots of reasons that things go through and get made, and it's not always because things are popular. But again, it could have been popular. The EPs were mainly the result of a collaboration between Fletcher, who was a former keyboardist for The Receivers, K-Boy vocalist Michelle Ben-Simon, and producer Joseph Donovan. Fletcher's not on the second EP though, replaced by M. Van Ark. Now the producer Donovan claims it was always the plan to have Black Canary have a visual and audio component, stating during the rollout of the second EP that he wanted to give her music a kind of otherworldly sound. And I quote, "A lot of music that we reference and are influenced by in Black Canary is produced in such a way as to transcend the everyday experience. It's bigger, smokier, and more magical than the ordinary world, and so things aren't necessarily supposed to sound real or organic or even inviting, but it is unquestionably pop music." I like to use the word smokier. Makes it sound like they perform in just a haze of dry ice. And that's all there is for official sanction, including having a band page on DC Comics' main website, Black Canary Music Time Recording. They did also release a song for the Black Canary young adult novel that they did, but they didn't put as big a push onto the idea that, oh, it's actually from Black Canary's band and the like. The author of that sang this one. We did an interview with her a while back. But that's where we're at with Black Canary Music Time Recording. They really did try with this. They threw their full weight behind this reimagining. But as Fletcher and Wu themselves said while discussing the series, series. Fletcher's talking to Wu here. You reimagined so much. Like, you talked about taking stuff from the music world and imposing it on superheroes. That's a risky move. That's an interesting phrasing, imposing it, because impose is not necessarily a positive verbiage when it comes to combining things. Impose is more like you're forcing something onto something else. That's a very interesting word choice. Did it pay off? Well, while it doesn't seem to have hurt, it doesn't seem to have overly helped. It doesn't appear to have been what was better for a wider audience. As for the tie-in EPs, I get the concept, and some really did enjoy them. And it is interesting to sit and listen to them, and they do match the tone of what is described and what appears visually in the book, so they work on that level. However, their efficacy may have increased if they could have been timed to coincide with the release of the issues as they were ongoing, or even maybe tie in a song and an issue to release. That would really have hit home with the whole it's a simultaneous experience. And that could possibly have built some word of mouth through that, like, oh, there's this comic coming out and these songs come out at the same time. That could have built a wider appeal, potentially. As it stood, it was an on-theme tie-in play and one that made sense, and was most likely enjoyed by fans of the series. But in terms of overall power move by DC Comics, or really increasing the reach and appeal of the book to this audience who don't really read comic books, less so. Did it reach some of those people? Undoubtedly. The masses at large? No, none of the DCU really reached the masses at large. I posted a picture of Renegade Hal Jordan the other day and people were like, what? When? How? Why? Nevertheless, for Black Canary, the music component has come to be gracefully integrated into her persona, and has settled more comfortably into part of her life or her background, while allowing her superheroing, which is why most people are there for her, to remain at the forefront. It can now be an accent and less focus. Something that, yes, you can pull stories from and reference, but not something upon which the entire Black Canary series is based. Again, despite Wu's claims, that's still a very niche topic. It's just a different niche. So by combining the two, it's like you're putting a niche inside of a niche. The overlap in the Venn diagram is getting smaller, not larger. This is an interesting moment in DC history, and it's always nice to see them branch out and try new things. Aim for the moon, fall on the stars, or something. But those are just my thoughts, and I want to hear yours. Had you heard of the Black Canary EP experience? Nobody called it an experience, but I just did. Do you like them? Did you like the DCU Black Canary run? How would you describe the music? As aggressive and verbose as you can. I want explanations that make me feel like I'm sitting in a dark, poorly lit cafe with smoke everywhere and nobody claps. They just snap. I want to hear it down below. While you're down there, please all YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking some time today spent discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it. I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
All right. Hey, that's cool that they do something like that. That would be cool to see them do that again with another, to bring it back or do somebody else like that, that step outside their box and do something like that. Let me know y'all thoughts. Make sure y'all heard it. Catch a comment. Make sure y'all share, stream, you know, bite that like button. Go over there, share some love to her. To Sasha, share her some love. Go ahead and subscribe to her channel. And while you're down there, make sure you subscribe to my channel too. Come on. Go ahead and share that button one time. Share my video. I greatly appreciate it. Come on, Vamp Army. All we doing is staying strong, because all we are is in the feeding frenzy. Make sure you bite that like button. Bite that subscribe. I can't speak right. Subscribe button. Make sure you share that video. Share it to somebody. Let me know your thoughts about this. If y'all had to pick a superhero, put it in the comments. If y'all had to pick a superhero, any superhero, Marvel or DC, or you know what? No, yeah. Marvel or DC, it could be female or male. If you had to pick, three. No, I'm gonna say two. Two, no. If you had to pick two people, who would it be? Who would it be? Let me know why. And what would the name of the band be? Let me know in the comments. It's been your boy, the Vampire King himself, London VK Alucard, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. I'll put the EP in the description, because I'm about to go listen to it, because you ain't gonna get me copyrighted.